So the way the society perceives young women from northern Nigeria is work but don't work too hard. Dream but don't dream too wild. Give it a try but don't do too much. You're just expected to do it to a certain level and then just go back home and relax. There is this limitation that we don't see it, but it is there. It's not loud, but it is there. Don't do too much. Don't go all out. Why are you being so hard on yourself? You're a woman.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Roots and Algorithms, the podcast where we tell the stories of Northern Nigerian women who are shaping the future through technology. My name is Amina. I'm the host and founder of this podcast. Today's guest is someone who is not just building digital products, she is building opportunities, communities, and futures for women in tech. Kadwama Deborah Lazarus is a digital product designer, social impact leader, and the founder and executive director of Northeast Women in Tech, popularly known as NewIt. Today, we're going to hear her story of starting in tech and what she has been doing so far. Kadwama, welcome to Roots and Algorithms. I'm so excited to have you here.
Thank you so much, Amina. Thank you for having me. I am glad to be here.
Now, Kadwama, before we go into the nitty-gritty of today's conversation, I would like to start with something small but powerful. What do you think matters the most? Infrastructure or skills, and why?
I don't think that one is more important than the other. I am from Northeast Nigeria and I know the kind of challenges we face when it comes to steady power, internet connection, that is infrastructure. If you have all of that in place and you don't have the skill to put yourself out there, you're still on level zero. And if we take it the other way around, you have all the competent skills and you don't have access to stable internet or stable electricity. There's no way to put yourself in the global market and compete with other people that are having that kind of stable infrastructure. I think that they are both very important when it comes to being ahead in the tech
Absolutely,
ecosystem.
absolutely. I'm with you on that one. You need infrastructure, you need skills. Now let's go back because this podcast is about telling the stories of women, where they have come from, where they are now, what they are doing in the tech space. Can you tell us a bit about growing up? What role did your childhood also play in shaping your ambitions today?
My childhood was normal, very conventional. I would say just like every other young girl that is from the northern part of Nigeria. We have like a script to follow. Go to school, after school, you stay indoors, nothing outside of the box, nothing showing that I'll eventually go into tech because at that time I did not know that tech was a thing. And like every other science student, I wanted to be a medical doctor. This was not because of some personal assessments. What are your strengths? What are your weaknesses? What are you passionate about? And this is shaped by the kind of things that we see in our society, right? And immediately after secondary school, I applied for the university I wanted. So I didn't get the admission. But looking back, I'm grateful that I didn't get in because if I had taken that path into medicine and surgery, I'm not sure if I'll be able to stumble on the field of technology. When I did not get medicine and surgery, I applied for National Diploma in Chemical Engineering. And the idea at that time was that if I study chemical engineering for 2 years, I will then apply for medicine and surgery after my diploma. So I literally just stumbled into chemical engineering and then I enjoyed every part of it. It was heavily male dominated, but still I enjoyed it so much to the point where after my diploma, I decided that I'm not going for medicine anymore.
I mean, that sounds like serendipity to me. And that is amazing because I'm really looking forward to the story of how you transitioned from chemical engineering, especially after saying you loved it so much you wanted to give up being a medical doctor. And I know that you said growing up, tech bros, tech sis was not something you were exposed to. But what was your first encounter with technology that made you realize, okay, this is a possible career path for me?
So after my diploma in chemical engineering, I got the admission to study chemical engineering, 200 level, direct entry. And then just when I was about to resume in January 2020, That was when the pandemic started, COVID-19
My
happened.
God.
So it was just
Yeah.
2 weeks
Yeah.
or 3 weeks into resumption, and they had to shut down the schools and everything. And then I went back home, stayed home for about 4 or 5 months. And I was so tired of staying at home. I was telling my parents that I need to get a job. No matter how menial the job is, I just need to step out of the house. Then I saw a 3 days training on tech skills, and they listed so many things. So I attended the 3 days training, and everything was absolutely new to me. It was like a door to an entirely new world. Then, a few weeks after the training, I got an email from them that I'd been selected for a 3 months intensive training. I
Oh,
started the
wow.
3 months training, and that was how my tech journey began. It was training after training,
Wow.
boot camp after boot camp, and eventually internship and then job opportunities. Eventually, I am now a UI UX designer, which is also known as digital product design. So that is how the entire tech journey started.
That is such an important reminder of how exposure changes everything. I mean, if you hadn't been in that group today, you might be in the operating room, and today you're a digital product designer, you're a tech leader. Can you tell me some more about the journey going from all of this up to today? Was there a defining moment that made you pivot? Was there ever a moment where you were afraid of starting over, especially for someone that initially wanted to be a doctor?
Okay, I think I have a number of defining moments, and at the same time, I don't define defining moments as those moments where, you get a spark or something dramatic happens. For me, my defining moments can be in the quiet nights where I'm thinking deeply and I'm taking very important decisions. But to be more specific about the defining moments that I would say have led to where I am, the first one would be taking that decision to go and study chemical engineering. And the second one would be when I decided to drop out in 200 level because I saw female facilitators, I saw role models in tech, and there was just something. At that moment, I did not know, okay, this is what it means to see a role model and want to be like them. But I just felt like this lady is so cool. I love the way she speaks. I love the way she understands complex things in tech. And I also want to do the same, right? And after thinking about it, praying about it, I told my sister, please help me to tell my parents that I'm not doing engineering anymore.
Of
Moments like
course. Of
that
course.
completely change the trajectory. Like you said, instead of being in the operating room, I'm now mostly on my laptop, either talking or
Yeah.
designing or collaborating with people across the world. And it has been a very interesting journey so far.
That is really incredible. And you said something that stood out to me, which is how you saw the female facilitators. They seem cool. And that points me to something you said earlier, which is representation, because it makes young women believe that these career paths are available to me, which is exactly one of the reasons why this podcast exists. So now moving on to your transition from engineering to tech, are there any engineering skills that you think have helped you to be the digital product designer that you are today?
Over the years, what I've learned is that there are a lot of transferable skills that you can have, especially if you are competent. So even back then, when I was studying chemical engineering, I was at the same time reading novels, connecting with people, and doing things that most engineering students wouldn't do. So that mindset of reading wide, of connecting with people beyond the people in my engineering circle, these are things that I could quickly apply in the tech space as well. And also skills like effective communication, hard work, making sure that everything that you do has a touch of excellence in it really helped me in transitioning into tech. I know that it's not just the hard skills that I have right now that are helping me to thrive in the tech space. And I say hard skills, I mean the core tech skills that I have. And one thing I always say to the young girls we train or the young women we train is that you can transition from whatever field into the field of technology. You see solutions around health tech, education technology, agro-tech, agricultural technology. So coming from that background actually gives you a competitive edge when you transition into the field of technology. There are so many stories I've heard. I have a friend of mine that studied law, and right now she's a product manager and a digital marketer. These two things, when you mention them, they do not correlate in any way. How does law connect with product management or digital marketing? But she was able to easily transition into it because she already has that existing skills of critical thinking, being able to understand information and process it
I
fast.
mean, I hear you, of course. Putting together lawyer and tech in the same sentence 10 years ago, it would have been one of the most bizarre things. Yesterday, I happened to be on a panel where my co panelist is a translator, and she spoke about how one day she woke up and she realized that AI can do the job in split seconds and she needed an edge. And that was how she found herself transitioning from that into cybersecurity. So before we move on to the next segment of the questions, can you tell us what does a digital product designer even do?
Okay, I have gotten that question a lot of times, especially when I started newly. So, a digital product designer basically designs digital products. So, when we talk about digital product like web applications, websites, mobile application, just so a digital product designer simply designs the interface and the experience of the digital product. So I'll break it down. The interface means what a user sees when they open a website or a mobile application. The colors, where the design elements are placed, the buttons, the icons, everything that is visually appealing to a user. And then secondly, and even more importantly, how it feels. That is the experience of digital products, how the user experiences digital products from the sign up page to completing the tasks and getting your problem solved. So a digital product designer doesn't just design the interface right now. Being able to design the experience involves a lot of work in that we call it user experience research. The CEO, like the management team, they have a vision. This is the product we want. Collaborate with the programmers, collaborate with the users, collaborate with different stakeholders to come up with design solutions that can address the problem. And then there is continuous iteration because the user is front and center in digital product design. So a digital product designer also engage the user time to time, understand their pain points, speak with users, carry out research, carry out competitive analysis, and so much more. So, in a nutshell, that's what a digital product designer does.
Oh, wow, that sounds like a very interesting job. I mean, from the outside, a lot of people will think digital product designers just create beautiful screens. Listen to you, it sounds like you're constantly solving problems rather than just designing interfaces. So, moving on, breaking into tech, you woke up one day and you found yourself in this ecosystem. You're switching careers. I'm sure it wasn't easy. Could you speak to those challenges and how were you able to overcome those challenges?
Mm. Yes, there were challenges in the transitioning journey, and even up till now, it just feels like in different levels, there are different challenges that you have to face. Now, in the early stages of my career in tech, I think first it was feeling that I don't belong. The imposter syndrome. Like, what am I doing here? When we started newly, I was learning about the Google space and it was very hard. And at the same time, there were other participants that understood how it works and it was very easy for them to maneuver through it and all of that. So I felt like this is not the space for me. But at the same time, because I was really interested in it and I wanted to forge ahead, I had to ignore all those things, the voices in my head, and just keep going and ensure that all these voices did not stop me from continuing the tech journey. And of course, the very first question you asked, infrastructure, right? Access to the right devices, stable internet, and all of that, they were major challenges. And I think what helped me in that stage was seeing that I'm not the only person experiencing those challenges. I remember the very first laptop that I was given for the training. I don't know what's wrong with the laptop. If you plug it in and you're using it at the same time, it will shock you.
Wow.
So, and I wanted to use it while it was charging. So I just had to unplug it, use it. If the battery drains, I now plug it back on. Of course, those were economic challenges. If I had money, I would just get a better laptop, but I just had to make use of what I had at that time. And then the third challenge, which really shaped the person I am today and the work that I do, is I noticed that there were not a lot of women, despite the fact that in the application
Yeah,
process, they said females are strongly
exactly.
encouraged to apply. I was like, okay, it happens. And then after the training, I was just trying to connect with more people in the tech space and, be part of that community and ecosystem. And I realized that there were just men everywhere. I was surrounded by guys and all of that. And I kept asking myself, is it that there are women in tech here in Yola that I cannot connect with, or is it that there are no women in tech at all? Those questions and reflections shaped the work that I do today and eventually led to me founding Notice Women in Tech.
And we will get to know it in a bit. I know you're doing amazing work there. And something that you said really is the spotlight for me, which is that you were wondering, is it that these women do not exist? There are amazing women out there, of course, doing amazing things in tech. But for some reason, in between being humble, not blowing their own trumpet, staying behind the scenes, we don't get to see these amazing women. And that is the main reason why this podcast exists, is trying to change that narrative. I see a lot of times we celebrate successes. We tend to forget that before these amazing women are succeeding, they had barriers they had to face. So now you are a northern woman in tech who happened to move from one industry to the other. Were there any unique barriers that you encountered and how were you able to overcome them?
This is a question that I have been asked a lot, and of course, I've experienced stereotypes right from engineering. One of the female lecturers called me by the side. She was the only female lecturer in the department, actually. She called me by the side, and the way she spoke just showed that she had zero hopes in me. She felt like I wasn't behaving like an engineering student. And, the way she spoke just showed that she knows that this one is going to fail. And then there are subtle signs, the way people speak to you, the way it is perceived when you say you are in tech or you're in engineering. And now, even in the non-profit space, it is still male dominated. Now, moving to cultural beliefs and societal norms. There's just the way it is expected for women, especially from this part of Nigeria. There's a way it is expected for their life to go. And it feels like my life is going in the opposite direction. There are rules, there are norms. When we say norms, it means it is a normal thing that everyone should follow through. And once you're not doing those things, you are the odd one out, or you are the stubborn one, or things like that. Anytime I remember this, it still hurts me. Someone very close to me told me that when I started tech newly and I was working so hard, he told me that, why are you working so hard? Like, you're eventually going to marry and take care of the home.
Wow.
When that person told me that, I was shook because if others would tell me, I wasn't expecting it from someone very close to me. The way the society perceives young women from northern Nigeria is work, but don't work too hard. Dream, but don't dream too wild. Give
Yeah.
it a try, but don't do too much. You're just expected to do it to a certain level and then just go back home and relax. So there is this limitation that we don't see it, but it is there. It's not loud, but it is there. That don't do too much, don't go all out. Why are you being so hard on yourself? You're a woman. Excellence is not expected of you. Like, global achievement is not expected of you because that is the norm. If you just do a little, it's fine. So these are the things that I experience on a day-to-day basis. Let's not even talk about in the workspace, some of the comments you get from male colleagues, or some of the policies or things you see happening in the workspace that are not very favorable to women. And the fact that we're from the north makes it even harder Because if you take a young lady that is in tech from northern parts of Nigeria, and then you take a young lady that is in tech in Lagos, the difference is very wide.
Absolutely.
Because for them, these are things that they see more often, they see on a daily basis, and it is not something surprising. But here, once you step out of what is expected of you, it becomes very surprising. And thankfully, I did not have to experience people trying to stop me, but the painful truth and the painful reality is that there are ladies and women that either their parents or their family members or people that have direct influence over them are actually stopping them from doing what they want to do because they feel like, oh, it's making you to go out too much. Why are you traveling a lot? Why do you have to stay out
Of
late
course.
to solve a bug with male programmers? So these are things that we face on daily basis, is the harsh reality. But at the same time, like I said, if you do not want to quit, you just have to find a way around it and then keep pushing.
Now, I would like to take a pause here and appreciate Kadwama for her honesty. Because a lot of time women face these barriers. Sometimes we don't even talk about them because what you just said is more than one important point. These conversations, they have to keep going on. We have to keep changing the narrative, breaking the stereotype, breaking the cycle. We need to continue to ensure that the women that are going to come after us do not have the same experiences that we did. And what you said, I feel like it should be on a t-shirt. Dream, but don't dream too wild. Give it a try, but don't do too much. Work, but don't work too hard. That is a perfect summation of what a lot of Northern women in tech or who are trying to go into tech face every day. So I would like to just move on to the amazing work that you're doing. You created the Northeast Women in Tech. What was it like when you thought about creating that platform? What does it even do?
Mm. So it started just about a year after I started my tech journey. And of course, I was asking myself, what business do I have with starting a tech community for women when I am just getting started in tech? When I started, I did not know that I was starting a non-profit organization or a social impact work. I was literally just starting a community for young women and girls that are interested in tech or that are already into tech to grow together, to access opportunities together. At that time, I was seeing a lot of opportunities online, and I would see female participants are strongly encouraged to apply. But at the same time, you are still not seeing the females in that space. So when I started, the mission was simply to, if there are women in tech in Yola, in Northeast Nigeria, let this be a community where we can connect and grow together. And then the second part is that for the young girls that are still in secondary school, that they don't know what tech is about, that they don't see female role models in tech, they need to start seeing that and make informed decisions. And imagine if back in secondary school, I knew what tech was. I read somewhere that if you can see it, you can become it. These young girls, they don't even see it, they don't even hear about it. That is how it started. And from growing a community, it became a full-fledged non-profit organization where we now train young women. We now do awareness projects for girls in secondary school. We establish several high school clubs where I and my team visit them periodically to just expose them to the field of technology, to just opening up their minds to such possibilities. And then right now, we're taking it a step further. Besides training them, finding a way to link them to opportunities in the global market, internship, freelancing, job placements, because it's one thing to train them and it's another thing to connect them to the opportunities and ensure that they're empowered economically, because that is the end goal. If you have the skill and you sit down at home, it's of no benefit to you. But when a woman is economically empowered, my God, there is just nothing that she cannot do. And then the impact that comes from just one woman being empowered, it has a ripple effect. You're not just keeping the knowledge to yourself, you are transferring it to your sisters, to your friends, to your children in turn, and thus inspiring more girls. And I remember how I felt when I when I first heard my now mentor speak. She's the founder of Rovi Data Youth Foundation, Mrs. Nena Mosugo. I was just amazed because she was very calm, very feminine, very intelligent. And there was just something about her story that made me to connect with her across different levels. And just sitting down in that hall, listening to her speak, it just sparked a lot of things. And at that time, I did not know that this is what it means to see someone and get inspired, or see a role model and want to be like them. So these are the kind of things that we want to see. And one success story that I want to share, since it's all part of Notice Women in Tech. Yeah, it's a young lady. I met her about 3 years ago. She joined some of our tech trainings and programs, and she has now founded her organization. She's in SS2, and she
Wow.
started her community named Techie Girls, and she is doing so well. She spoke at our last event, and the girls that were in attendance were so inspired. They were excited about it. So these are the kind of things that we'd love to see, and things we want to continue creating, those kind of impact that, by just doing little, you're creating an impact that will ripple for years and years to come.
That is such an amazing response, an amazing story, an amazing initiative. I could hear your passion. I could hear the emotion. I could hear all the work that you have put into New It, the tenacity, the drive, the focus. I'm very proud of what you have been doing, especially starting a community at such a young age. And also, as a beginner, a lot of us were not even thinking about that years ago. So that is really great. You moved from impact to transformation through New It. You trained and mentored hundreds of women, like you said, transitioning from one industry to the other, becoming a social impact leader. How has that been for you personally? What has changed?
It has definitely changed me, changed the way I see things, changed the way I perceive things, changed the way I think. When I look back on how I started and the kind of things I was capable of at that time, and looking at me today, I see a lot of growth. So the first way it has changed me is personal development, because the truth is that you cannot give what you do not have. And I realized that very early enough when I started my journey, that to be able to communicate the ideas I have to the young women that I want to train and inspire, I must be an effective communicator. To be able to show them how to go about getting into tech, I must be an excellent person in tech as well. So there was this mindset shift that I got, that I definitely needed to be the kind of person I am advocating for them to be. So that has completely changed me and how I approach life, how I approach the challenges I face. And of course, the changes are very evident. So it completely changed how I perceive things, how I took decisions. I knew that I cannot just continue taking decisions thinking about me alone. I now have an entire community. I honestly will say that it has changed my life completely, but I think the area where it influenced me most is my personal development. That is just being able to be the best version of myself, so that I'll be able to pour out to my
Oh,
community
wow.
as well.
I hear communication skills, tech skills, critical thinking skills, selflessness, leadership skills. Those are the kind of things that statistics alone can never capture. It's bigger than training people. It's changing the future, changing your community. It's even changing beyond your society, because if you pour into one person, that person pours into another. And before you know it, you are impacting hundreds of people, thousands of people. And that is such amazing work. Now, Kadwama, before we round up, you do nonprofit work. You're also a digital product designer, and I'm pretty sure you do one or two mentorships or coaching here and there. How are you able to balance all of this and have your life at least looking like it's 100%, even if it might not be behind the scenes?
Yeah, interesting question. Balance, right? I remember I attended a leadership accelerator program, and one of the questions that was asked was, how do you get work-life balance? One of the speakers said that it is not a myth, and that one size cannot fit all. If you are using a particular routine that works for you, I cannot just pick that routine and apply it and expect that it will work for me, because we are two different people. So what works for me is the habits and the systems that I've built for myself. And I'm going to refer to the book that really helped me to build such systems is The Atomic Habits by James Clear. Systems simply translates to routines, the habits. What do I do on a daily basis when I wake up from morning till night? So prioritizing the things that are important, learning to delegate some of these things to people that can actually get it done has done a great deal in helping me to find balance. My health is important, my career is important, my faith is important, my family is important. So really sitting down and putting yourself together, of course, with their frameworks, their resources and materials helpful online and from some of the books that I've read that really helped me to put myself together and ensure that I'm not busy and unproductive at the same time, but knowing at this particular point in time, this is what you're supposed to be doing basically.
Kadwama, you have been dropping gems after gems, resources after resources today. Thank you for sharing that. I am truly sure somebody listening to this might pick up the book or pick up some of these tips that you have given, and it will work for them. Now, moving on, well, you have received a lot of recognitions for your work. Could you touch on what those milestones mean to you and what has receiving it taught you about service?
Mm. Okay, so I definitely back then would not imagine myself getting the accolades, the award, the recognition. I honestly was just doing my work, getting things done, working towards the goals that I have set for myself and for my organization. One of the things I've learned is that people are watching you and they see what you are doing. Either it's right or it's wrong. In fact, all of them came as a surprise, one after the other. I'm like, how did you hear about us? How did you know the kind of work that we do? It has humbled me because, in as much as I know that we're doing a lot and working towards the objectives that we have, at the same time, I feel like we can do more. And funny enough, service is one of our core values in our organization. We're all about giving back to the community and continue serving.
Okay, thank you so much because it really shows that recognition is wonderful. It often reflects years of unseen work. Now, when you imagine the future of women in technology across northern Nigeria, what changes would you like to see in the next 10 years?
In the next 10 years, what success will look like in the northern part of Nigeria for me or through my lens, especially for northern women, is inclusion. Because globally, there are less than 30% of women in technology and less than 20% of women in leadership spaces in the field of technology. So, in the next 10 years, what will look like success is women and the people of northern Nigeria embracing technology more in different forms: education, technology, financial services. And I strongly believe that it is not impossible because we're already seeing how we're embracing technology, that the northern part of Nigeria is opening up. Now you hear things like tech startups in Yola, in Gombe, in Bauchi, in Taraba, and all of that. So success will really look like gender inclusivity in tech, and not just for women, but people from this part of Nigeria embracing technology and all the solutions that it brings with it.
That is truly incredible. That sounds like a future worth building. And I really hope that someone listening today becomes part of that vision. Which brings me to the young girls that might be listening to this, or someone who this episode sparks up some interest for her in tech. What advice would you give to that young girl or young woman, or someone who is even older that dreams of working in tech?
Okay, the advice I'd give them is that they should start from where they are. They shouldn't wait till everything is perfect. They shouldn't wait until they have the most fanciest gadgets or the most stable internet connection to get started. If I can do it, you can also do it. If you are listening to this podcast right now, you know that there are other women that have similar experiences and stories with you, but they did not let challenges like stereotypes, like cultural norms, to pull them back. There's just so much free resources, free information online that you can get started. Start with YouTube, start with Coursera, start with Udemy. Just get on your phone, get on your laptop, start making research. And then bit by bit, you begin to get a hang of it. Like if you just type Northeast Women in Tech Community, you will see step-by-step guide on how to join. And there are a lot of other communities that you can join. But the most important thing is that you should first believe that you can do it. An outsider cannot tell you that. You first need to believe from within that you can do it. And then once you believe in yourself, you get started from where you are. There's something I read online recently that, of course, don't wait for all the conditions to be met. Do it afraid, do it scared, do it lonely, do it unsure. These things, these feelings, they are normal because you are human and you're facing challenges and all of that. But just get up and do it with all the feelings and all the confusion. With motion comes clarity. If you don't move, you will not get that clarity that you need to begin your tech journey. So just pick up yourself and just get started, and I will see you at the top.
I know I have said this before, but I need that on a t-shirt also. I was trying so hard not to interject you by clapping. That is an amazing way to wrap up or almost wrap up. So what is next for Kadwama? What is next for Newit? Go ahead and tell us about that.
For New It, we have a lot of plans for the second half of the year. We have bootcamp trainings that we'll be having in the second half of the year for specifically for Northeastern women that are from the 6 Northeastern states. And like I mentioned earlier, that we're taking it a bit further, connecting our trainees and our participants to opportunities in the tech space from all over the world, not just Nigerian opportunities, but connecting them to the global market as well. For me, it's just to continue leading the vision, continue leading the organization, and ensuring that the impact continues to grow and we see the change that we want to see as well. I think you asked about how to join our community as well. Our website is newomenintech.org.ng. You'll find more information about the work that we do. But most importantly, joining our community is free.
Oh, amazing. Of course, we will add the details for Newit at the bottom of this episode. Kadwama, thank you so much for joining us today on Roots and Algorithms. I really, really appreciate the honesty, the conversation, all the gems that you brought, all the resources. So now, Kadwama, one last time, is there anything you would like to say before we wrap up the episode?
Thank you so much for having me, Amina, on today's episode. I strongly believe that this episode will inspire the next generation of female innovators, especially in the field of technology. Thank you so much. I'm really glad we did this.
And to everyone else listening, if something in this episode resonated with you, I would love to hear from you. Drop your thoughts, questions, or even suggestions in the comments. If you have a direct question for our guest, or you would like to know more about something that she said, drop a question in the chat and we will get her to send an answer to you. What conversations do you want us to have? What stories do you want told? Don't forget to subscribe, like, and share. This is Roots and Algorithms. Until next time, let's change the narrative.